What is going on, movie meals? Movie meals. Hope everybody had a safe and good Halloween weekend. I got too ambitious thinking I would have honestly, the motivation and the time to travel, see a couple of friends in a safe way. Yep, him. And film our after show. So we ended up we're just gonna, Kyle and I here are gonna make more of a review style after show for this first one, and then next week we'll really dive in. We're gonna bring on different guests. So let's just real quick, we'll start. Kyle, what were your overall thoughts of the first episode, season 2 of The Mandalorian?
Well, when I first clicked on the episode, I was a bit confused because immediately I saw the runtime of it being, 50 minutes, nearly an hour, and I was like, did I click like one of the movies or a special by accident? So I had to double check, and sure enough, for like season 2 and the start of it, we got pretty much an hour-long episode. So I was like, oh, geez, I wonder what's going to happen here where it needs an hour. And I think some people will probably think like for the first episode being an hour long, like there should have been some way major stuff for like the story happening when there wasn't too much. I would probably agree to that, but also I'm fine with that. Like I thought it was just a really great way to reintroduce ourselves to the show, remind us that this is a Western. This is kind of one of those tales where, the Lone Ranger type character goes off on his own adventure. There's a bigger story at stake in the background, but at the same time, we're just solely facing, kind of like the villain of the week and seeing what characters he teams up with to take down said villain of the week. It was just, and maybe it could have been like down to at least a half hour, but for me, that hour flew by and I still really enjoyed myself. I still am really liking these stories in this kind of minuscule Star Wars universe to where they don't necessarily feel grand scale, but like you still feel the weight of the situation because of how not closed the story is, but just because of how much it concentrates on like one particular character and one particular story. So it just really was a good way to reintroduce ourselves back into the show, like what we like about this show so much. It seems like there was a bit of cool Easter egg stuff along the way that, Star Wars fans will like, and I'm sure Alex will get in depth because he's able to find that stuff more than I am. But for being ready to introduce the show and reminding ourselves of why we love this show so much and, just having a good story out of it, I'd say it was well worth my time, and it was a really good way to get back into The Mandalorian.
Yeah, for a first episode, I like when they announced, Jon Favreau said, look, this show is supposed to be us as kids playing in the sandbox. The idea of wouldn't it be cool if Boba Fett and Yoda teamed up? Like that was his idea. Like, wouldn't that be cool? Let's go to the sandbox. I love it. And I've continued to love it throughout the first season and the second. I'm not against the runtime problems. I tend to want the creators to, problems, but let the creators do what they want. If they make something that's good, that's 30 minutes, great. If it's an hour, great. I loved this first episode. I actually thought they upped the budget. I thought it looked even more stunning than the first season. There were things that were really pointing out. It might have been that I happened to watch it on an 83-inch TV compared to a 40-inch that I've got, but
Yeah.
I thought it looked insanely gorgeous. I like that they stuck to the Western, and they opened up both first episodes of both seasons very Western-esque. And this was even more of a play on that. I really, really dug it. And it is spoilers, so we're going to get into all that. That's the point of the after show, that you have watched this after the show. But yeah, I loved the episode. I kind of liked, there's a lot of complaints I know about, well, I'm tired of seeing the same stuff. I'm tired of going to Tatooine. Get over it. There's a reason that these planets and the things that happen repeatedly in Star Wars tend to happen. Do I agree maybe the Skywalker thing needs a break? Yes, but I even like in this episode that he says, no, I've been to Tatooine dozens of times. I'm the only Mandalorian who's ever been there. And they're like, no, you're not. I loved all the teases in this episode. Timothy Oliphant knocked out of the park. I mean, we know
Yeah.
he plays a great cowboy, but for
Mhm.
him to have gotten the armor from Boba Fett the way he did, I think is great. I think it's awesome. I love the teases about our worm creature. There's a lot of memes going around, and I even thought of it watching the show. Very SpongeBob-esque. You remember that episode of SpongeBob where the worm
Oh, it's a
like
classic.
attacking him?
Sandy goes to fight the worm.
Mm-hmm. I loved it. I love the rattling or the expansion of our canon on what the Sand People are, and you get into a lot of race problems, within Star Wars. I really love the themes that this episode touched on. I love the way they've gone with the Sand People. I love that they team up. It really is the Western. We got to get these two common, these two enemies to like each other for a common reason, and it's the guy who comes from out of town that makes it happen. And I just loved the take. I thought it was great. It's one of my favorite episodes so far. The tease for, like, I'm looking for a guy like me. He walks up to the bartender and says that, and then it's the Marshal, and the twist is just so brilliant. And we get to see some use, like real use of Boba Fett's armor and, his weaponry, which is cool for the first time because we kind of see it in the original trilogy. We obviously see it with Jango Fett, but for Boba Fett, that's real cool. And then obviously we get the amazing tease at the end. Boba Fett survives the Sarlacc pit. I'm here for it. Unless it's Rex. That's the first thing I said to one of our friends who's another big Star Wars nerd after we finished watching. I was like,
he did look more like Rex to me.
Well, that's because they're the same guy. They're clones.
Well, I guess that's true. But I don't know. For some reason, that was just my first thought over it being Boba Fett coming back. But it could be either or for sure. But that was definitely my first thought.
I'm for sure that it's probably Boba Fett. If they went with Rex in some way, we know that he's supposed to play Rex. But that's the first joke I made. It was like, what if it's Rex instead? Because, they're trying to subvert your expectations clearly by, this, we see Boba Fett and this old, he's got like a sweater on underneath, and you're like, what, is this the Boba Fett we remember? Because they're building up for you to believe that Boba Fett is the new Marshal of this town and it's not. It's Timothy Oliphant's character. And I love the tease. If that is Boba Fett, I can't wait for that conversation. I cannot wait. I really hope what we get with them is, honestly, more than anything else, I want like a good 15-minute scene of just them talking. Pull out one of the great things that a Breaking Bad and a Game of Thrones does in television and give us two interesting characters talking. Because a Mandalorian now who is trying to return a Force user to his kind, that's talking to somebody who not only fought next to Vader for a bit, knows about him, watched his dad get, his head cut off, decapitated was the word I was trying to think of. Like, I want to see that Boba Fett look at him and go, no, it's more than rumors and whispers. There was an entire army of Jedi. This, that would be such a great conversation. I hope we get it. I'm pumped. I mean, these 8 episodes are going to be 8, right? We're getting 8 episodes of this.
Yeah, I think 8 or 9.
We're getting Ahsoka, Rex, Boba Fett. I feel like I was playing with my toys as a kid, and that was the best part. It was an absolutely fantastic episode. I'm upset I haven't had time to watch it again. Anything you want to add here, Kyle?
No, I'm just pretty much spot on with you. I mean, I really appreciate about this show, and especially this episode, is that they know how to do, homages and Easter eggs and fan theories. They know how to include those in really well. Whereas personally, when it came to like Rise of Skywalker, they're like, throw everything in and make everyone happy, even if it doesn't make sense, while you can tell like they're carefully thinking about, okay, does this Easter egg work? And how can we, put the spin on it? Like initially we see Boba Fett's armor. We're like, oh, that confirms that he's dead because someone else is wearing it. But at the end, we're thinking, oh, is it actually Boba Fett or is it Rex? And that's the fun of doing Easter eggs and stuff,
right? Like the other thought is like, all right, if it's Boba Fett, how did he lose his armor? Why did the Jawas have it? Like, what happened for him to get out of the Sarlacc pit?
Yeah,
sorry, you may continue, but I wanted to add that point.
No, for sure. And it's just it's those types of questions and those types of conversations are why this show does a great job at incorporating Easter eggs and fan theories so well, because they know how to put spins on them and make them entertaining. But at the same time, it only leads to more questions that we enjoy and appreciate, and we're not confused by them. And I think that's just really what we need out of Star Wars nowadays instead of what we got towards the tail end of this final Star Wars chapter that we had, where they missed the mark on that completely. And one more thing that I really like is you were mentioning about how with the Jawas, like we're seeing all those different, issues between, the Jawas and the community
Sand,
that,
sand.
what?
It's the sand
Sand
people.
people. Sorry, why did I say Jawas? But with the sand people and with the other group of people, and we're seeing it from the point of view of Mando, because we're being introduced to this situation like he is, and
Yeah.
that's what the show also does really well. Like, yes, we're coming back to things that we're familiar with, but with through new eyes, such as with Mando's, we're able to see different stuff coming out of this stuff that we've seen before. So it's just expanding on Star Wars, but it's being done in creative ways to where it still becomes interesting, even if we thought they were initially familiar. So that's just what we're saying about this show and this episode in particular. It's just smart. Like, it's just smart. It's carefully crafted and it's done with such love instead of just everything being thrown at once and just trying to see what works and what doesn't work. So I give this crew a lot of props. I really enjoyed this episode. I was totally fine with it being a long episode, though I doubt that they're going to continue that. Maybe they'll do that for the season finale, but I think they'll still be half-hour episodes. Regardless, though, like, no matter the time length, like, I'm all in on this show. Like, I really enjoy what they're going with, and I want to see that continue.
Well, I mean, the last season, there was one episode that was like 28 minutes. There's one that's like 39. There's one that's 48. So
Yeah.
they just write their story, and that's what I love is that they can
Mhm.
just write their story and go with it. I did like the longer episodes because it's more Star Wars. I'm trying to pull up because I can't remember who directed this specific and wrote this specific episode. So I'm trying to look it up here.
Was it not Favreau? I thought it was for some
I
reason.
thought it was too, but I want to like make sure because I'm pretty sure it was Favreau, but for some reason I'm having trouble finding this specific episode. But like another great thing that I loved is, and I think this is nostalgia done well and Easter eggs done
Mhm.
well, because the casual fan is not really going to notice that Timothy Oliphant is riding one of the, that he has converted one of the like propulsion jets from Anakin Skywalker's pod racer as
I'm
his,
right there. That was me.
but no
Had no
clue.
idea. No idea. I mean, I thought the same people were called Jawas. I certainly didn't catch that Easter.
That's what he was riding.
Yeah.
His speeder was one of the jets that Anakin had as a pod racer.
Way cool.
I think
That's
that's a
awesome.
great Easter egg because that makes sense. If Anakin wins this race as this kid, and then they sell the pod racer for whatever the parts they needed and everything. Why wouldn't this like iconic speed racer, pod racer, continued to be used and then over the years destroyed, just taken apart, and then somebody finds this old thing and reinvents it? I think that
Yeah.
is excellent. I love those type of Easter eggs. I love
Mhm.
them, love them, love them.
It's done smart.
It really
It's
is.
just
And we
smart.
got different. Oh, here we go. So yeah, Jon Favreau wrote and directed this one.
Mhm.
It looks like John wrote all of them except. So he'll write 1 through 4. Dave Filoni writes episode 5. Jon Favreau will write 6, and then Rick Famuyiwa, is that how you say it?
Maybe.
He,
Sorry, I can't see the name in front of me, so I don't know.
It's all good. I butchered it, but he is great. I love what he has made.
He
Uh,
has done good stuff, yeah.
he's done 7th, and then back to Jon Favreau for the
Mhm.
last. We don't know who's directing, except that Dave Filoni does direct the episode he writes. And I'm just all for this. I
Does
love what we've got so far.
Do you think that means Ahsoka's going to be in episode 5? Because if that's just a straightforward Filoni episode,
I mean, maybe. I don't think that Filoni was like, I want Ahsoka in. I'm going to write her own. Like, not necessarily. Is it
I mean,
probable? Yes,
it's
because it makes sense.
yeah,
But
it's just his character, so I assume that he'd be like, "Hey, can I?"
yeah,
can I do this episode? And Favreau was probably like, sure, why not?
Well, it says written by these two have been really involved together in the process, especially
Yeah.
watching the documentary and the way they've talked about everything. So
Hmm.
Filoni has been in. I mean, he's a producer. They've been involved with the writing process quite a bit. So is that the episode it's first introduced, and it is Dave saying, "Hey, this is my girl. Let me be the one to kind of really bring her to light," is very probable. I mean, we might have just cracked the code here, my guy.
I feel like we solved it. I feel pretty good.
Definitely massively possible. Um, and I'm thinking of all the things we saw, and I like that they go to Tatooine on the first episode. Let's get that out of the way, because if we're
Yeah.
not going to spend a lot of time on Tatooine, let's do that with the last 7 episodes, because there's so many scenes from that trailer that is just awesome that I'm waiting for. Like, we've never seen just a boat in Star Wars. We've seen like a speeder boat, but we've never seen like a normal boat. We got to see a normal boat in the trailer. I want to know what that's all about. Why are we on a boat in space? That's what I want to know. But yeah, I love this episode. There's so many rumors and ideas. Is Satine in here? Will we get a tease to Ezra? And I'm pumped. I do wish they had kept some things a secret. Boba Fett and Rex and Ahsoka are all ones I've hoped. There is a big rumor going around because of an actor talking that I have heard that I am nervous for, because if that is a spoiler, I'm going to be pumped, but I'm going to be upset that it was ruined. I'll tell you if you want. I've only told one person, but it might be a spoiler.
I'll think about it after the show.
All right. Well, if you guys watching know what I'm talking about, an actor did say something that pumps me up, but I just don't know what that means, and it drives me nuts. Because I wish those had been kept a secret. I like that if they're going to do it, which so far in this first episode it looks like they're going to say, "Hey, Boba Fett's in this," but it's not going to be the way you think, because they really led. I mean, halfway through this episode, I'm thinking Boba Fett is got to be the marshal of this town. Like, he has to be. Like, it just makes sense. He crawls out of the Sarlacc pit. You can piece that movie together in your head. He crawls out. Somebody rescues him from that village. He feels he owes a debt, so he stays and protects them. And it didn't happen that way, and I'm really glad it didn't.
Yeah,
I forgot
me too.
Timothy Oliphant that was announced that he was going to be in the show, and I was pumped to see it. I love the episode. Honestly, if this had one big complaint, I could put 2 nitpicks in there. Well, one's not really a nitpick, but I could, you could say there is exposition dump in the beginning. What happened to this town and all this, seeing a character we know. That does happen. I don't care. I'm for it. And the only other complaint is that we needed more Baby Yoda. We needed more of the ears, the eyes, and the cuteness. Biggest complaint is that. When he's like on the speeder, though, oh my gosh, he's just in the little bag and he's flying around. I'm so for it. Force Ghost Yoda is sitting there, just wondering, oh my gosh. No, that wouldn't work. Never mind. I just went straight, created an entire theory in my head, debunked the theory.
I did have one in my head too.
Seconds. What?
I did have a theory going in my head right when you were talking about that too.
What was it? Go ahead. This is the after show, Kyle. I'll tell mine. You tell yours. What was yours?
I don't know the logistics of Force Ghosts and how the afterlife works for Jedi, but I was thinking, like, what if it's Yoda reincarnated?
That's what I was thinking.
That is what you thought too.
That is amazing. This is why
awesome.
We are best buddies.
Best buddy telepathy.
It's true. That's exactly what I thought. It was like, wait a minute. What if it, like, I have never thought of it. What if it's just Yoda reincarnated? But if I remember correct, I mean, he's 50 years old. And this is only like 5 years after episode 6. So it would not, it wouldn't match up because Yoda would be still kicking or have just recently died.
Plus episode 8, they showed his Force Ghost. So
yeah, exactly. Unless, we find out something that maybe he will found a way to split like his essence. And the reason he goes
like Horcruxes?
Well, yeah, but like think about it, because in episode 5 and 6, there's not a whole lot of years, but he goes from like, he's old, but he's still moving pretty good.
He's agile.
Yeah, to like decrepit, like he's laying in bed and then dies. Maybe what he was doing on on Dagobah is that he is splitting his essence, and it's causing him to die sooner because he's reincarnating himself into creating his own, another version of him. He's cloning himself in a way through the Force, which would be such a new, cool, and unique power. It'd be a very interesting way to bring Yoda back into, the world of Star Wars, and to show how powerful his species really is. I mean, we know there are others of his species because of Yaddle in episode 1, but that's the only thing we know. So that would be an interesting spin, is if, Ahsoka goes, no, I've spoken to Master Yoda, and what he had done is he had split his essence into two. That would be a twist people I don't think see coming, because we're just expecting it to be
except for us.
Bingo. Like we're expecting like a very tiny planet, like it's gonna be like Earth, it's gonna be some weird planet where there's 5 of these creatures in a family, and Yoda happened to be one that was trained, or that they're the Wills or something like that. That there's something super ancient in the Force. There's not many of them, but the essence would be cool. That would be a really cool way to do it, I think, where he's kind of able to split himself into 2. That'd be cool. The age still doesn't line up, but you could say, maybe he finishes removing his essence before his death, and then it increased his him dying faster, and he got more and more, old and whatnot. Maybe the I'm going nuts here. Maybe it's because he says to Luke, he says, no, there is another, as in Leia can win if Luke fails because Luke runs off when he shouldn't. But maybe Yoda's really like, maybe there isn't another. Maybe it's got to be me, and we're going to have to wait another 100 years until I'm primed up. But
either that, or their species just can live for so long, but then like they peak and then they immediately croak. Like their life expectancy after their peak is just like, all right, then you're out of here. We'll get rid of you.
Yeah, it would be an interesting way to explain why he dies so quickly, because we don't understand their species. This baby is 50 years old and he's an infant. Like he can just walk, and that's it. He can't even speak. To where Yoda in episode 3 is flipping around and ripping people apart. And yes, you can say the Force is part of that he's using the Force to help keep him more agile than he should be. And maybe that's why he dies so fast. Maybe he uses the Force as like a drug, and like it's actually increasing, it increases his movements, but at a cost that it's going to pay back, come back at him later. Some of the concept art of a young Yoda is so cool. Like, there are some really cool concept arts that fans have done of like what a primed up Yoda would be, like shredded, and it's cool. I don't know if I'll ever see that, but I'm weirdly for stuff like that. But
or the life expectancy thing like really takes a boost after 50, where all of a sudden Mando wakes up one day and there's just a ripped baby Yoda.
Feed me, Mando. Like,
yeah. Mando's like, oh no.
He just take off the helmet, Mando. Anyway, is there any final thoughts you have on the show? Any thoughts going into the next episode here on Friday?
No, honestly, when it comes to this show, like, I mean, aside from, some of the theories that we just talked about now, I'm really wanting to go in as blind as I can. Like, I really love the mystery and the intrigue that comes into every episode, where I'm like, hey, I don't know where Mando's about to go. I don't know, like, what the final reaching point is when it comes to, like, the big overarching story. But I'm just along for the ride. Like, I just want to have fun in Star Wars. I want to see this interesting character, like, just go to different places, show us different things about this universe, and have a good time doing it. So besides the little theories that we just have started right now, I'm just along for the ride. I'm just here for it. Whatever episode you got, throw it at me.
I do want to say, too, one of the cool things I thought about this episode is they, like, because we in the last season, we saw the John Wick kind of Mando, because he busted in to get Baby Yoda out, and he's taking guys out with his, his guns and whatnot. But we saw, like, and we saw it a little bit in the first episode of season 1, but we really saw hand-to-hand combat in Star Wars, because he, like, goes straight up like ninja on those guys. And I really liked that scene, because I thought and we saw, like, no blood, but we saw, like, a knife in a guy. And I think they saw the success, and new Bob is what I call him, the new head of Disney.
Oh yeah, new
And
CEO.
and Kathleen Kennedy are saying, you know what? I get it's a kid show, but let's be a little bit more. We can take it a little bit further here.
A little
And
more
I
edge.
thought they did, and I really dug it. I thought that fighting and the hand to hand was really really cool, really well done, choreographed. I was for it, even with the Power Ranger kind of villain aliens from back in Java's days. But
Yeah, you made a good point too about like this is supposed to be a kids show, but it just has a lot of edge to it to where like parents can watch and make sure like what's good for their kid or what isn't good for the kid. But at the same time, like it's good for the kid to watch a show with some edge. And hopefully like Disney can continue to make other shows like that on Disney Plus. I think that'd be pretty cool.
yeah,
But who knows how that's gonna happen. But I just hope that's a learning lesson for Disney being like, hey, it's okay to have shows with edge. Like as long as it's within reason and you have enough faith in parents to not be ridiculous about it. And,
yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
Honestly,
I hope it's a learning lesson for other content.
honestly, I think Marvel is the reason that Disney seems like they can do it more, because Marvel will push the edge with their humor and with their fighting. Obviously, they don't show a lot of blood,
Yeah.
but they will really do some insane fighting. I mean, Cap in the elevator, like there is some insane fights in
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think they're seeing that, hey, we can have real success here. And now that Dave, or our boy Kevin Feige, is more just involved in the Star Wars part of the building, is probably helping too, where he's walking up and walking to new Bob and Kathleen being like, look, we get it's a kid's show, but they can handle a little bit more than you think, because they're out there already, beating each other with sticks for lightsabers. You know what I mean?
They're dealing with a pandemic
Yeah.
outside. I think we can give them a little edge in
It's
our
like, look, these
kids
these kids are
programming.
seeing things on TikTok that are way more edgy than what we're gonna pull. Like, let's just
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And I love the fighting. I love this episode. And real quick, one of the last things, if you can find some good in the world that has happened in 2020, it's that Star Wars got shoved. All cinema and tech and TV and this kind of high end nerd stuff has been like shoved under the rug, and then out of nowhere, Mando's like, "No, we're here and we're ready. So let's get into it." Was really nice. Like the episode felt like a really great refresher to remind you how great really getting into the lore of some of this stuff is and how fun it can be.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm more than happy for, because
Oh,
it
same here.
bringing Star Wars back in a great way, and I love it. So,
Yeah,
all right, guys.
exactly.
Next week we will have maybe a guest or two, because we want to really dive into Star Wars here. But thank you for watching this one. Again, apologies for being late. Hopefully, follow me on Twitter at Movie Meal Al. Kyle doesn't have one, but follow me on Twitter, because I will tweet out when we're going to do it, because I'm going to try to make it live here on YouTube. We're going to try to figure it out. Maybe not, maybe. So follow me there so you'll see the posts.
Nice.
And yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.